There's a war going on for the future of James Bond between Amazon and Barbara Broccoli, with Amazon wanting Marvel-style spin-offs of the franchise.
They did not send us because they thought we could do it. We are here because they are sure we cannot.
You never take me to dinner looking like this, James. You never take me to dinner.
What would I do without you, Miss Moneypenny? Thank you.
The relationship between the people overseeing the franchise and Amazon has all but collapsed. With Amazon talking about spin-off shows and other movies, Broccoli seemingly has zero interest in making them, apparently telling her friends that the people at Amazon are effing idiots, and has decided to take the franchise hostage rather than let Amazon have their way with it. Specifically, Jennifer Sulky, which does make the effing idiots quote seem rather apt.
But a movie like Late Night, for example, that I know the industry made an example of as a failure or a misstep from Amazon. And the truth is we bought that movie because I believe the movie's commercial. It went through this, contractually obligated theatrical release. And then it gets this, horrible report card. But the truth is the movie's been watched.
Now, I am no fan of Barbara Broccoli as it is, due to what she's done to the Bond franchise.
Check your two balls very carefully.
But in this case, when you're fighting off against Jennifer Sulky, it really is a case of the enemy of my enemy is someone that I could put up with for a bit, as Jennifer Sulky is most certainly worse, showcased by her apparent description of the franchise as content, which infuriated Broccoli, soured the relationship, and the next film has been plagued with script problems, casting delays, and no agreement as to which direction the franchise should take next. Because all that we really know is that it seems like it's going to double down on everything Daniel Craig did.
Could ride you to victory.
Yes, Daniel Craig took on the role of Bond, breaking new grounds as the first female James Bond of all time.
The world has changed, but the numbers remain stacked against us. It's about money and power.
He rebooted and re-energized the franchise with effeminate energy, stuffing the franchise with his feelings and pathetic weakness. It was a new, more grounded, again, their idea of grounded.
We're afraid to walk the streets at night, yet some of us are even more afraid to return to our own homes.
More emotionally complex direction. The opinion put forward by the Alliance of Women Film Journalists. I can understand why that'd appeal to them.
It's about money and power.
And they're not the only people that think it. As time has moved on and Hollywood has decided to destroy itself as an industry, obviously, they're going to double down on all of the mistakes they made with Daniel Craig. He dug into the man behind the hero. Well, not exactly Hamlet. He is now a more emotionally complex entity, with layers of characterization as he cries and whimpers and turns into a pathetic wreck.
Did you really die that day? Is there any of the old 007 left?
He's not Bond anymore. He's beyond just beating up people and having one-night stands. James has a deeper motivation, beyond just, patriotic love for Queen and country, the foundation of the character. We're beyond that now. No, now we have new modern reasons to make the character worth sticking by for the long term. Bearing in mind that Daniel Craig didn't even want to stick by Bond for the long term, who literally came out and, literally said, I would rather inflict damage to myself than play James Bond again. If he ever came back, it would only be for the money.
But I shall miss it. I'm probably be incredibly bitter when the new person takes over.
And while Daniel Craig has played this off as, it was just an emotionally difficult time for me, when he was asked, who would you love to see play James Bond, he responded, I don't care. It doesn't seem to be a guy that cares about the franchise to me, so it's no surprise that he was very happy changing it, or as I would say, destroying it, as even if people like the movies, I just don't think they're Bond movies. And so just from past performance alone, I am very glad that James Bond is trapped in an ugly stalemate with Amazon. It's in a new kind of peril. Because quite frankly, I would rather have it trapped in stalemate than anything that has been rumoured about its future. I will take a decaying partnership than have Amazon spin off Marvel series and Broccoli use her gut instinct to destroy it even further. As she's characterised the status of the new movie by no script, no story, and no new Bond, combined with Amazon creating it as these people are effing idiots. But while she apparently exudes a den mother authority over the franchise, you just think, like the rest of Hollywood, that Amazon really isn't a good entertainment home as they sell everything from toilet paper to vacuums, but does have a good quote of, don't have temporary people make permanent decisions. And I would rather have Broccoli hold Bond hostage than have Broccoli, the permanent person, make those decisions as well. Because what we've heard isn't good. Because while Daniel Craig doesn't care about the next Bond, there have been new rumours. A Hollywood Reporter came out and predicted that Josh O'Connor would be the next Bond, and I'm like, I'm sorry.
Bro, can hear the colours. Bro, thinks mute is too loud, bro.
Looks like he needs a feather to fly. There's absolutely no way I could ever see him as Bond.
Heard the joke before somebody said it, bro. Heard the news before they even spread it, bro.
How is he ever going to be a secret agent? You'd see him coming a mile off. Despite his natural ability to pick up radio waves, one clap and he's done.
He's the definition of I'm all ears. Bro, move out of the way, I can't hear, bro.
And he was in this movie Challengers, where, from what I can gather, all three of them were having it off with each other. That's just not the image of Bond. This isn't the image of Bond. Any man which has held their hands in this position should be disqualified as a matter of principle.
I didn't have many friends in New York.
I was in New York with no friends.
And then my agent set me up on like a friend date.
Let alone the first 14 seconds of this interview, which it just doesn't show him in a very good light.
With Justin. Yeah, don't. It's weird.
Who's your agent?
You know her.
It was a gag for the cameras.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
Now.
I know, actors, not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I mean, come on. License to Kill, I think he'd apologise to his own shadow. He puts more emphasis on the Queen than the country. And I do find it funny that at the same time that he's rumoured to be taking over from Daniel Craig, Variety comes out with an Actors on Actors and puts them together. And all that seems to line up with what Barbara has said about her intentions for the next movie, that it will change with direction. They want the next James Bond to be even more in touch with his feelings. Daniel Craig's successor will continue the work of cracking Bond open emotionally as the franchise seeks to evolve into a female franchise. Because Barbara's long seen that. When she talks about her gut instinct, all it means is, what do I want?
You don't like my methods. You think I'm an accountant, a bean counter, more interested in my numbers than your instincts.
Despite her not being the target audience. Barbara's influence has always done this kind of thing. She is credited with the clever casting of Judi Dench as M so he could have his first female boss. Known for being a hands-on producer, likely influenced and encouraged the scriptwriters to directly call Bond out for being a dinosaur and a chauvinist.
I think you're a sexist, misogynist dinosaur, a relic of the Cold War.
My pelvic floor is all over the place.
And to have the female characters challenge him more. And this only got worse and more severe when Albert Broccoli died. There were no brakes on the train after that, and what we ended up with, well...
Well, first time for everything.
What makes you think this is my first time?
Oh, Mr. Bond.
That's obviously going to get worse, just from what they've said. Won't be surprised if Barbara was the reason why there was talk for a while that it wasn't even going to be a bloke, which at least they have now confirmed that they're not quite that stupid. He'll likely be in his 30s, and whiteness isn't a given. What's he going to do, start putting the boot polish on? This is Barbara Broccoli, anything's possible. It's even very hard to find just reasonable conversation about Bond, with things like, yeah, no one wants a more sensitive James Bond. If you do, you're not the target audience of Bond. Hollywood is evolving in the wrong direction. Men do not come to James Bond to see sensitive brooding of an aging spy. They come for the car, the bikinis, and the volcano. But the Daily Telegraph reports the next James Bond will have bigger roles for women and a more sensitive 007. Barbara Broccoli says Bond is evolving just as men are evolving. I don't know who's evolving at a faster pace. Yes, the men are improving. They're reaching the next stage of evolution. They're fixing themselves by acting like women.
It's about money and power.
The attitude itself is offensive, but it also means that she can't produce the franchise that she's in charge of. I guess in that regard, at least I have something to thank Jennifer Sulky for, that she now won't. Because the most surprising thing is, Barbara Broccoli's attitude to this and Jennifer Sulky's lines up perfectly. While the Spectator may have a difficult time believing that any fan of James Bond ever expressed a desire for a secret agent to get in touch with his feelings, the problem is that the lessons of the original Bond have been appreciated, understood, and rejected by Hollywood as a form of retro masculinity out of step with the times. As Fleming wrote in Goldfinger in 1959, Bond came to the conclusion that Tilly Masterson was one of those girls whose hormones had got mixed up. He knew the type well and thought that them and their male counterparts were a direct consequence of giving votes to femme and gender equality. As a result of 50 years of emancipation, feminine qualities were dying out and being transferred to the males. Pansies of both sides were everywhere, confused, not knowing what they were. The result was a herd of unhappy adult misfits, barren, full of frustrations, with the women wanting to dominate and the men wanting to be nannied. He was sorry for them, but he had no time for them. Considering that we go to James Bond to get away from all that, we shouldn't have any time for them either. Which means I have no time for Barbara Broccoli. It's just that Jennifer Sulky's worse. Jennifer Sulky gave me this.
If I make just a literal interpretation of the books where they're just saying the lines that are on the page and we deliver them to screen, it will not feel right to the audience.
Rafe Judkins, best known for his stint in Survivor.
Well, I'm a gay Mormon Ivy League grad wilderness guide.
And peeing blindfolded onto a helicopter. He absolutely annihilated Wheel of Time under the Amazon banner. And so rather than getting a great Conan the Barbarian series, instead, well, we got the young, ageless Aes Sedai who will all look in their 50s or more. Once again, the series was changed so that anything a man would like was removed, with Rafe Judkins being a self-proclaimed femme who thinks it's very important to him that a show is femme in today's context. And so a lot of those things will be changing. And by those things, he meant Wheel of Time. A guy who said that he will make characters start banging their own male friends just to be spiteful to the audience. Yeah, we'll just have Perrin and Lan going at it, for no other reason than he can get his rocks off. That's the legacy, the entertainment atmosphere, the professionalism that Jennifer Sulky has ushered in at Amazon Prime Video. It really is no wonder why nobody takes her or Amazon seriously under that kind of leadership. And so Jennifer Sulky can talk the talk about how you're missing the point. You don't reverse engineer true creative vision. The truth is she doesn't have any. Nothing that works, because she's entirely out of touch with the audience with which she's trying to serve. She's presided over business failure after business failure.
The industry made an example of as a failure or a misstep from Amazon. And
with series climbing towards $300 million, flops like Citadel under her belt, and renewals of things like Peripheral, which cost $175 million for 8 episodes, despite what sources say have been a lukewarm audience engagement, and it probably should have been cancelled. All because they didn't want to lose the political capital with Lisa and Jonah, and so they just handed over literally hundreds of millions of dollars. In fact, it was only after an Amazon CEO decided to turn the Eye of Sauron onto the studio and asked them to start explaining their big spending on the 5th of July 2023 that a month later, The Peripheral got magically cancelled, because other people don't care about losing their reputation or political capital like Jennifer Sulky. While she may be happy to cede decisions to powerful producers and signed 3-year deals with Phoebe Waller-Bridge at $20 million a year, which bore no fruit at all. $20 million a year for nothing. A move which apparently Jennifer Sulky is too stupid to regret and actually renewed. Jennifer Sulky would like to see an audit of every Hollywood overdeal misfire. Does that include the ones that you made? Because Jennifer Sulky isn't just renowned for whacking huge amounts of money on the table for absolutely nothing. Like a preemptive bid for Air that other executives at competitors called crazy, as she just bought it off a pitch for $160 million. The movie made $90 million worldwide. By the way, who would have thought a movie about shoes wouldn't have had wide appeal? Not Jennifer Sulky, she's really into them. Well, that, and a showrunner with considerable experience at Amazon said they don't learn from their mistakes and we can't make any more deals with that. You turn around and the same problematic people are right back to it. The impolite term being star banging. Sure, they may say we don't want to buy from outside studios, but then the packages come and they buy everything. The insinuation of this entire Hollywood article was that Jennifer Sulky was a significant problem at the studio and just really liked rubbing noses with celebrities and was willing to pay them hundreds of millions of dollars for the privilege. It's no surprise that someone like Jennifer Sulky may appreciate the finer things in life, really enjoys being around powerful people and acting like a powerful person. It's very easy to do to gain status around celebrities when you're spending other people's money. The issue is where Amazon's profit margins don't particularly mean that much to me. Bond does, and the instincts of both Broccoli and Jennifer Sulky are both entirely against what James Bond is. Broccoli on the fact that she doesn't know what a man is by the sounds of it, or at least doesn't want to have James Bond be one.
I'd quite like to try and pull off an elf.
It's about money and power.
Instead, wanting to change Bond into something where she's the target demographic, put him in contact with his emotional side. Oh, the women have to be kick-ass, and absolutely can't be there for the men to enjoy. And Jennifer Sulky, because she has the business acumen of Frogspawn, who wants to spin James Bond off into some multiverse franchise with spin-offs.
They did not send us because they thought we could do it. We are here because they are sure we cannot.
Where she can shove all of her little tick boxes into it. Oh, now we can finally get one without dangly bits. Hey, if it's good enough for John Wick to have a spin-off that'll fail, then it's definitely good enough for James Bond to do it too. Hollywood has low standards, but it's because of the people that they're putting in charge are not the target audience of the things they're in charge of. And so I'm very much in a position where if I can't win, I'm happy with a stalemate. If Barbara Broccoli, with all her flaws, retains final say over creative matters of James Bond, and that means I'm not going to be creative and make anything, I'm fine with that. If you're not creating, you're not destroying. Because before the purchase of James Bond was finalized, Amazon executives brainstormed among themselves how Bond could be plugged into their machine. Maybe we could have a James Bond TV show, or a Moneypenny spin-off. Do you imagine a Moneypenny TV series? It's just her answering phones and licking stamps. Seriously, how exciting and heroic do you expect that to be? What about a TV spin-off centered on a female 007? This is all the right... What about the paper without dangly bits? Oh, we were already turning James Bond into one. We might as well do this anyway. Broccoli's response to such enthusiasm, one friend said, was, "Did you read the contract?" And I mean, hell, with the James Bond series that Amazon did make, Broccoli, did you? How on earth did you end up signing off on this?
I put real people into a James Bond adventure and placed 10 questions around the world.
The best thing about that show was the atmosphere of James Bond. It was the James Bond skin they put over the TV show. But it was no more James Bond than the Daniel Craig movies. Broccoli was irked in one meeting when Jennifer Salke referred to Bond as content. This was like a death knell to Broccoli.
Broccoli, Broccoli, what's he doing today?
He's dead.
Who mixes her own female gut instinct, which is probably why James Bond is basically women's intuition and crying, with a healthy amount of risk, with the risk seemingly being Barbara, turning James Bond into a self-insert.
What makes you think this is my first time?
However, it seems that Broccoli and Wilson, well, they're, became accustomed to a soft touch where they basically got whatever they want, whereas when it comes to Amazon, they can't land a meeting with anyone above an L6. In fact, it's so bad that Amazon employed a production executive who is now known as the Barbara Whisperer. It seems like they employed somebody specifically, can you just get her on side? Like, seriously. Go out, get her pissed, buy her some dresses or something, I don't know, you know what those people like. Just get her to do a deal. Buy her a puppy or something, I don't know. Tell her how smart and powerful she is. That's what we do in the movies. Yes, affirm her. But now, Broccoli and Wilson have decided to show the next generation the ropes, with Wilson's son, Greg Wilson. Greg, being obviously young and modern, has appeared to be more sympathetic for calls to update Bond from modern audience. A role that's so far been filled by white male actors. God have that. How dare the Britishman be British? The horror. Now, some people may point out that having incredibly racist inclinations towards James Bond probably isn't a good idea for the profitability of your company or your leadership. Anyone who doesn't have the base instinct that obviously this is James Bond, we shouldn't start having him to appear from a different continent because it doesn't actually make any sense, is clearly too stupid to be in charge or indeed paid by the company. It does seem that bigoted though, so you know, full of scum. This is just a case of every single generation is worse than the last, with less business acumen than the people before. So if we thought Barbara was bad, some say a person of colour in Bond's tuxedo would better reflect the UK's changing demography. Who cares? If you got the boot polish out, that would apply to everybody. But really, I don't think we should care what a few racist people think. That is basically just a statement of, you need to be fired. I think we could literally solve Hollywood by asking that. Should we? No. The answer's no, mate. Here's your P45. An even nod to its ugly history of colonization. Yeah, true. If you travel the world, you'll see many an ugly person. Ah, yes, the ugly history of improving the world. Take it a step further, others say. Cast a woman or Daniel Craig. I think the best thing about this sentence is that Daniel Craig basically fulfills all of it. We're already way past that. Maybe this is why they're having trouble hiring somebody. It's like we've already broken down every first. Daniel Craig ticked every box. But the problem is that Barbara Broccoli can't come up with villains. Elon Musk, she said to one friend, that I did that back in 1997. This really is the creative bankruptcy we're dealing with nowadays. I've self-inserted myself into the movie. And now the villains are going to be the people that I don't like as well.
I put real people into a James Bond adventure.
That had Broccoli's backing. If those are the kind of TV shows she signed off on, imagine the one she's refused. She even was so proud of it, she wanted a full marketing push with billboards and TV commercials. And while they're going, well, Amazon, the algorithm didn't think it needed it. As somebody that saw the series, I'm on Amazon's side. It wasn't worth it, love. Amazon executives griped that the show's first season lost a significant share of viewers after 6 minutes. And they are right, Brian Cox was the best thing about it. But he only agreed to do the show because he mistakenly thought he was signing on to star in a James Bond movie. Work has begun on a second season. You're insane. You're all insane. The show has become a venue for discussion with its Amazon about the character's place in the broader world, whether the valorization of a dangerously violent, womanizing secret agent is what's best for society today. Yes, because he's a man. Oh my god. The only thing that can save Hollywood is masculinity. And until you have people in your company that can actually be like, no, James Bond is popular because he's a bloke, you will always make crap television. If you want to make entertainment for guys, strangely, I know this is wild, Barbara, but how you behave in the real world doesn't matter. This is basically an argument of, should we have all the best things in the world in one character? No, because he's not like me. I go to Starbucks and drink lattes. James Bond doesn't do that. These people are retarded. During a company meeting about the second season, an Amazon employee admitted their own misgivings. I have to be honest, I don't think James Bond is a hero. The room went silent. The room should have fired them on the spot. No, bye, get out. Get out, you scum. When Broccoli received an honorary Academy Award, in her acceptance speech, she honored producers and her father and didn't mention Amazon. And I think that's for the best, because Amazon seemingly understand what Bond is and despise him for it. And the thing is, Broccoli seems to agree. Maybe not going quite so far as he's not a hero, but seems to think that the old one wasn't, that he was wrong, that he was broken, that he didn't behave like a woman, didn't behave like her, and therefore needed to change. In this scenario, with these people and their very modern ideas that men are essentially just broken women, the only solution to preserve Bond, the best outcome, is that they argue and don't make anything. Because anything they do will be an inevitable downfall, just the next stage of evolution, the next exaggeration, the next step on the way to their extremely radical beliefs from what Daniel Craig already was. And you won't fix Hollywood until people like that get instantly fired the moment they say it. Because if you're too thick to actually realize what James Bond is, if you're too morally twisted to actually understand that, no, old Bond was best Bond, and you really don't deserve to be in Hollywood, you definitely shouldn't be touching entertainment. But what makes me laugh is how both sides of this seemingly agree that Bond is problematic and needs to change. They just have different degrees of how far they're willing to go, and Barbara doesn't want the spin-offs. But if I have to cheer on a fight between two people who want to destroy Bond, just because neither of them can decide which one's more evil than the other one, then that's what I'm willing to do. I don't like what either of you have done. I don't like what either of you have planned, and I'd rather you piss each other off than me. But those are just my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe, more videos like this in the future, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.